mystery of Pine Hollow. In the summer of 2019, a group of hikers set out to explore the dense, remote woods near Pine Hollow, a small town that had a history of strange occurrences. Locals often whispered about weird lights in the woods and strange, distorted sounds coming from the trees, but most dismissed these stories as tall tales or the byproduct of a small, isolated community. The hikers, 5 young adults in their early 20s, were looking for adventure. They planned to spend the night camping near the edge of a forest, far from the nearby road. At first, everything seemed normal. Birds chirped, the air was fresh, and they found a nice spot near an old, decaying radio tower that hadn't been in use for decades. As night began to fall, however, something unsettling happened. One of the hikers, Tim, set up a small radio to pass the time. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the radio crackled, picking up strange interference. Initially, it sounded like static, but then something else started to emerge, first a faint siren, then voices, distorted and unintelligible, rising and falling with the crackle of the static. Tim adjusted the radio, thinking it was malfunctioning, but the voices persisted. The group grew uneasy as the sounds grew louder, coming from all directions. At first, it seemed like a regular emergency broadcast signal, but then they realized it wasn't. The voices were eerily familiar. Tim thought he heard his own name, followed by his friends' names. The static turned into distorted, almost mechanical laughter that sent shivers down their spines. One of the hikers, Jess, suggested they pack up and leave, but it was already too late. As they gathered their things, the strange sounds turned into a piercing wail. Then, from the darkness of the trees, they heard what sounded like a heavy, dragging footstep. The group froze. From the shadows emerged a massive figure, a humanoid shape that was almost skeletal, with an enormous siren-like head perched on its shoulders. Its body was gaunt and towering, much taller than any human, and it moved unnaturally, like it was both mechanical and organic. The siren on its head wailed loudly, sending waves of panic through the group. Panicked, the hikers ran in different directions, but the creature's call echoed through the woods, now mimicking their voices, calling them by name. It was as though the siren had the ability to duplicate their exact sounds and throw them off track. One by one, the hikers disappeared into the forest. The next morning, the only evidence of the group was a torn backpack, a radio still playing static, and faint footprints leading into the woods. Local authorities found nothing but a lingering, unsettling hum in the area, like the fading echo of the siren's wail. Despite extensive searches, the hikers were never found. To this day, some believe the disappearance of the group near Pine Hollow was the result of a supernatural entity, Siren Head. Though no physical evidence supports this theory, locals still claim to hear strange sounds in the forest at night, sounds that seem to mimic human voices, crying out in the distance.